Hey, what's going on? Guys, what's up? Greetings and Bakufu? I don't know what that is. Okay. Hey guys. Let's get into some Gunpla to critique. Actually, Bandai CEO. Yes, it's me. What was it? No, not John Bandai. What was it? What would have been the name I was thinking of earlier? I don't remember. It might come to me. I'll say it, mention it later. But anyway, how's it going? We've got some Gunpla, and well, it's a mix. There's Gunpla and some other cool stuff we're going to be taking a look at here for today. And so let's get right into it. But how are you guys all doing today? As we're getting started, just as a reminder to everyone, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Oh, I know the name I was thinking of earlier. Now, see, it suddenly came to me. Mark Gunpla, maybe. Mark Bandai. That's what it would be. Mark S. No, so you guys know the Apple series Severance, right? You guys all Severance fans? Yes. Well, my wife and I are huge fans. We're enjoying watching season 2 now, finally, at long last. After season 2 is finally recently coming out, we rewatched season 1, and now we're making our way through season 2. It's a lot of fun. Fantastic show. Love it. Highly recommended. And so, if you guys are fans, you know, Mark S. is the main character. And we were at, were we getting fast food, Taco Bell a few days ago. And like you have to give your name, like to put your name into like the order screen. I won't spoil anything, of course, but you have to put your name into the thing. So I put my name as Mark S, and my wife was like, "Why did you do that?" She rolled her eyes. It's like, I want to hear when they call it order, they're gonna say Mark S. So when the order was ready and the staff came out, Mark S, yes. It was fantastic. It's a great success. It made my day. Anyway, so yeah, I can be Mark S. Bandai. As you guys may have seen my post, yes, I'm CEO of Bandai now. You know, it may not look like much, but hey, this is what I got. So check out the other post talking about that. Just because I wanted to see what you guys might have to say. If you had a direct line to the CEO of Bandai, what would you say? Questions, comments, concerns? Go leave a comment on that post. But let's take a look at Mafiau's work here as they're patiently waiting for me to put this on screen. And I think we might have a couple of our subjects of discussion here in the chat today. So, I think Marine is going to be here as well. We're going to take a look at some of his work. We're going to take a look at some work from Edgar. We're going to take a look at some work here from Mafiau first. This one being a work that we have seen before in past episodes, if you guys tuned in. This is what Marine was working on for the Poképla contest, which unfortunately he was not able to finish by the Poképla contest deadline. But it's always good to, you know, even if you can't finish in time for the deadline for the contest, to see it through to the end. So here we have the finished product of his 30 minutes missions Arceus Pokemon crossover build. Yeah, we talked about this a lot in the last episode. A lot of the main structural parts of the kit, everything was kind of mostly there. So there's not like a lot of huge changes since the last we saw it. Mostly just kind of all the details finished up. All the paintings finished up. It's on a different base from what we saw it last time. I don't remember, what did the base look like in the last one? I think it was on the base for the Arceus kit, right? Which was cool, but it was kind of restricting because it like had like holes for like the legs. This one's that one, I think, if I remember correctly, it was cool because it also had like a Pokeball like shape on it, which was cool. But this plinth base here gives us an opportunity to actually have the legs in like a better pose, pose is more suited for the kit. And also pretty interesting how, even though it's just on these little like tiptoes there, I would assume that not Marine, this is Mafiau's work, that they just went ahead and like put a rod up through the foot there, but does kind of give the look that it's basically just kind of very lightly tiptoeing on the universe here. I think this is, let me check the email. I believe that this is meant to look like it's like an actual like space sort of look, I believe is what they were going for. So he said this time I finished the kit bash. Was the first kit I sprayed with my new airbrush. Okay, so you might see some unevenness. I mean, at a glance, not really noticing anything. We'll take a closer look. First wanted to keep her posable, but in the end I pinned her leg to the base, so it's just only the upper body that's posable. Well, you guys know that I'm fine with that. When it comes to like a finished work, I like to stick with just a static pose without like really moving it around too much. The plinth was first painted in gloss black and then sprinkled with different paints to create the universe pattern. Yep. And I finished the base with the Gaia Notes polarized pearl prism pastel pink, a cherry pink blue. That's quite the name. To give it more of a shine and color shifting effect. And finish it off with a gloss top coat from Stabby. You can kind of see the finish effect. It could just be like the photos. I don't think I would have noticed that had you not mentioned it. Like now that I'm looking at it, I can kind of see that you get sort of like this pearl like color shift kind of shine on there where it looks a bit more blue, a bit more pink in kind of different areas. I think under some different lighting, it might be easier to see. I would have just, without knowing that, I would have just chalked it up to, you know, I can see it now that you're like pointing it out, but I would have just thought that it's just kind of just like ambient light from the room just kind of hitting the base in different ways. So it's not like super noticeable, but like I said, I think that's just because of how it's photographed here. So let's see, anything else here? The kit was painted in Mr. Hobby colors, white for the hair, off-white for the Arceus parts. Is it, do you guys say Arceus or Arceus? I feel like I've heard it in different ways, and probably either one is correct, but neutral gray for the gray parts, the character yellow. You guys know I love character yellow. Character yellow for the yellow bits, and fluorescent green for the gems on the ring. Fluorescent green. The fluorescent green isn't very bright. I wonder what that's painted over. If it's painted over like a gray, because usually like any fluorescent paints, they're pretty bright, but it also depends on what's painted over because they're a bit translucent. They're not super opaque. The fluorescent paints usually. So to get like a really bright fluorescent, it's got to be over like a white or something, or silver, something like that. Painted over gray. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's still like bright, and I mean you can still see that they look like kind of green gemstones, and also I think the like the gloss coat on those parts shining nicely helps that. But definitely any fluorescent paints over white will give you a much brighter. Yeah. I mean, if you didn't want it to be like super bright, because I mean, like fluorescent, I mean, look very fluorescent as you would imagine, and if you don't want it to look quite that intense, definitely painting them over a gray, just like a regular gray surfacer, will definitely keep them really toned down. The yellow looks nice and bright though. Is the yellow also painted over gray, or were those parts in white? I would imagine it's all over a gray surfacer, but the yellow looks nice and bright. A lot of times if you're painting yellow over a gray surfacer, it's hard to get like a nice bright yellow, but it looks pretty good. Looks pretty bright on there. Character yellow is nice because I feel like it's a bit more forgiving than just like straight yellow. Straight yellow is over pink. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that makes sense. That's why it's nice and bright. Yellow, like straight yellow over gray top coat will look kind of gross and kind of greenish sort of. It just looks ugly, so it's hard to do. And the skin as well had a pink surfacer base coat. Okay, good, nice. Yeah, the skin looks good. There's not a whole lot of it, but I mean, we're obviously where we can see the skin tone is there. Another close-up image, and I like the use of different face plates. So like I said, you know, normally for like a finished piece like this, I like to stick with like just one pose. But it's cool that you were able to keep the articulation in the top half and also some different face options to be able to switch those out to get some nice photos and some different poses here. Those look good. Uh, I believe, if I remember correctly, that you did use like just blank faces and use water slide decals for the eyes, right? These aren't the pre-printed eyes. So it looks like the eyes might, like the decals are like slightly off, which is one thing that's particularly challenging about doing water slide decals for eyes. I mean, because we have, I think I've talked about this before, but like because we're humans, like we're so used to like seeing humans, it's the whole uncanny valley thing. You could have something that looks super realistic, but it's like if it's just a little bit off, like we're very attuned to like being able to pick up when people just look like a little bit off. And so like if you're just doing like a robot face and you have like your eye sticker for like a Gundam, it's like very slightly off to one side or something like that. It's not going to be nearly as noticeable as like eye decals for like a human face, because we're so used to knowing like exactly how a human face is supposed to look. So eye decals on kits like this can be very tricky because of that. So this is, I mean, it's not like super noticeable. It looks like it may be very, very slightly off. I mean, especially when you're looking at the piece as a whole, it's not something that's gonna that's gonna be noticeable. How many face option parts did you make? Because it looks like there's at least 3, right? There's like a purple eyes one, which we saw the one before. This one, like the angry face, this green eyes here on this kind of like calm face, 3 faces, okay. And then this one here, too, with like the open mouth. So it's just the 3. Okay. But yeah, the skin tone looks great, definitely. And the modifications turned out really good. Everything looks pretty good on there. I think the colors worked out nicely. Really nice utilization. And we talked about this a lot in the last episode, but like kind of the melding just kind of the 2 kits generally. And just kind of choosing like which parts to put where to represent different aspects of the Pokemon kit and different aspects of the 30-Man Sisters kit. I think the balance of the 2 kits is done really nicely. So came out really good, I think. 1 red angry one, 1 green happy eyes, and 1 green kind of neutral face. Yeah. So it's the green, red and not purple. Just kind of, I guess that is more red, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, maroon, purplish red. It's like a deep red. But anyway, yeah, it looks really good. It came out really nice. So glad to see that. Glad to see that done. Like I said, it's always good to make sure to see those projects through to the end. We do have another one here from Mafiau as well. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen here for us, which is work in progress. So like the next project, which I don't believe is not for, well, we don't have another contest ongoing at the moment. I'm getting ready. I'm thinking about the next contest, and I have a couple of ideas in mind. We'll probably talk about that more next month, because I want to do it like in the summertime and giving myself a little bit of like a break in between the contests here. But this one, in the meantime, we are doing like a group build. So in my Patreon Discord server. So I guess I should say I didn't say that at the start of this live stream. But yeah, if you're tuning in for the first time to Gunpla Critique and don't know what we're doing here or what is Gunpla Critique, basically it's an opportunity for anybody who wants to support on Patreon. There's different Patreon tiers and different rewards. Part of that would be access to the Discord server. So like I said, one of the things that we're kind of working on now is a snake themed group build, which we will see another work in progress from a different builder here in just a minute with their snake themed build that they're working on, because this year's the year of the snake. So you guys know that I was working on this, which I need to get back to and finish my own snake build. But my snake eye kit here. So yeah, I need to finish my snake eye, my sea pig. But anyway, so yeah, check it out. Another reward for Patreon supporters is that they can submit works here for critique, where I just kind of talk about them and give my critique. It's meant to be constructive and helpful, I hope. So anyway, right. Let me go back to the email here really quick, make sure if there's anything else important that I missed in terms of what's going on with this build. It's obviously the HG G-Quax kits. I think it's mostly just working on like seam line removal. And let's see. Okay, so working on an anime accurate G-Quax. So I've done some simple prep work and some seam line removal and modifications needed to assure that the parts go back together again after painting. Yes, so I've seen some really great builds on Twitter, which I assume has also been quite helpful, showing, I want to say it was Garma Zabiko, although I could be wrong about that, who was sharing their work in progress on this, showing how to modify everything for removing seam lines and everything like that. So like very helpful. The base of the head has two small sections where the seam line isn't done up as a panel line, and the legs have a rather large seam line in them running down the side of the lower leg and back of the upper leg, as well as backpack parts and a little bit on the upper arm. Also had to modify the two parts of the legs to cut most of the connections, fit the fuel tank in after painting. And the fuel tank also got a connection cut off to allow the red part to fit over it. On the backpack, I cut the discs that hold to while the parts to be in a line, and cut the matching groove into the gray parts to create the key lock style connection. I gotcha. So trying to read that out, but anyway, it's essentially cutting and modifying and gluing the parts to be able to paint everything and have it be anime accurate. Like for example, like here in this like part for the upper arm, like this is very easily a part that you could turn this seam into this like a panel line or something like that. I would be very tempted to, just because of the shape of it. It doesn't look just like a straight like seam line right down the middle of the part. But if you want it to be anime accurate, then I would have to look at the picture from the anime. I don't recall off the top of my head, but my guess is that there's no panel line there in the anime version of the design. So that's why they're getting rid of that. So for example, in like other stuff here, gluing these parts here for the leg, I'm guessing that's the seam like there at the top, which is now gone, but you can still see some of the glue on like the inside of these parts. And nice that they're using the black glue, which is very easy to see, especially on these white parts. And it's something I would recommend you guys to check out if you're planning on painting kits and doing seam line removal. On white parts like this, using that black glue is sometimes helpful to help see, kind of make sure that you're getting a good removal of the seam. Because if everything's all sanded away and good, you shouldn't really see too much of that black goo still left on there. But yeah, what he's talking about, like the key lock system like this, for example, here, like these parts, cutting this into a rectangle shape so that it will be plugged in one way and then rotate it and it'll be locked into place, and you won't have to worry about the parts, painting the parts like masking, or you can paint the parts separately without having to mask and do all that. So, yep, very nice. And someone can correct me too if that wasn't Garma Zabiko on Twitter, who had that very helpful work in progress series of photos that they were sharing about that. Yeah, so here you go. You can see on like the top of the leg. Yeah, that is a pretty nasty seam line. Again, one, I think just because it's like at an angle, it's not just a straight ugly line. I mean, you could turn that into a panel line and not worry too much about it. But if you do want to go for accuracy, I can see wanting to get rid of that. This part here, this one's also for like is this for in the leg or the backpack? I'm not sure. But is that this part drilled out, this part cut out and drilled out, and then using like a plastic peg in there? I don't think that's painted, I don't believe. Just a peg drilled in there. And then this part for the torso, looks like. Inside the leg. Okay, this part's inside the leg, right? Gotcha. And that part there, yeah. Or the torso, right? This part, too. I'm not exactly sure where some of these parts are. I still don't have the kit myself. I've not built it. Yeah, I need to. But you guys get the idea. Basically, modifications on that. I mean, so far, looks good. I mean, we can't really see too much of, I mean, we can kind of get the sense of kind of how the process is going. And it looks like, I mean, if this is something that one of you guys are also wanting to do, wanting to make your build like look as anime accurate as possible, this is kind of what I anticipate, is that there's going to be a lot of work to get this to look perfectly anime accurate. I've mentioned this before, but like the first thing I thought of when I saw the design was like, of course, obviously it's very different, very weird from like a typical Gundam design. And then the other immediate thought that I had was that this is going to be a very challenging kit, like to build and paint, like to do properly, just because there's so many like small little details and little parts here. I mean, like as a master grade, it would be a different story. It's going to probably be a lot more comfortable of a kit to paint in like a master grade and 1/100 scale, but especially for HG, I mean, it's just going to be a very challenging one. So, I mean, if you guys have spent any time on Twitter since the release of this kit, you've probably seen a million different painted builds of it already. I feel like I've seen this kit built and painted in like literally 50 different color schemes already at this point. But certainly not the easiest one, I would say. So, I mean, props to everybody who's really putting in the work on this kit. I don't have it yet, so I'm looking forward to working on it when I do. So yeah, looking forward to seeing some more work in progress on that in the next month's episode. Not sure, Mafiau, do you think you'll have it done by then? I don't know. It seems like there's still like a lot of work, and it's just gonna like the whole kit's gonna take a lot of work. But I don't know, maybe that's just like the hardest part that we saw, and then everything from there is just kind of, so it gets easier from there, maybe. But let us know how that's going to be going in the next episode. But for now, thanks so much for sharing that stuff. It's cool to see the Pokemon kit all finished up, so I'm glad. All right, next stuff is going to be here from Edgar, who's got a couple of things we're going to take a look at. Let me just make sure all the photos are in order, because I see that a couple of them are not. Let me just shuffle these around here a little bit before we get underway. Watching from the Philippines, hello. Yes. Still waiting for my pre-order of the G-Quacks. Yep. Same. I couldn't have imagined that Bandai would goof the rollout of their brand new lead kit from the new series. Who would have thought that they wouldn't have made enough to satisfy the demand? Not really particularly a surprise, but it's a shame that it always seems to work out that way. All right, so let me go back and check out the email here, what Edgar had to say about this. So I know that there's a couple things. This one is a Gelgoog Jaeger kit, sorry. It's a Gelgoog Jaeger kit with the arm of the Zigok E. And so this is a concept, let's see, so I mentioned to you guys that we're working on, because it's the year of the snake, we're working on this like a snake build, a group build theme around snakes anyway. Gosh, couldn't really get that one out. So planning to do a snake print paint scheme, at least on the Zigok arm. I mean, I would go even more than that, but trying to emulate some concept art I saw online of a Gelgoog with a Zigok arm. So he saw this, which is something I've never seen before. This concept art, and this is like this is the only image that I have here that he sent. But yeah, it's pretty much like a Gelgoog with a snake pattern and a Zigok E arm. So I mean, pretty easy to recreate essentially by just slapping a Zigok E arm onto the Gelgoog here. But yeah, the snake pattern does look really cool. It reminds me a lot of the there's a version of the Zudas. The Zuda F also has a similar kind of color scheme on it here. Let me see, I'll show it to you guys here in case you've never seen. What's the feet from? If you were talking first name last name, if you're talking about the last build we were looking at, that was all the HG G-Quacks. Let me see. Let me put this up here. Yeah, so the Zuda F here has a similar color scheme, and I wonder if this is not from the same like source material. It should be from a manga or something like that, I believe. But yeah, the Zuda F has this cool kind of snake kind of pattern on it right there. Very similar to like what we can see here with this version of the Gelgoog. So that's the inspiration, and works perfectly for our snake themed custom snake custom themed group build. I guess it's a way to say that. I cannot figure out how to say that properly. Anyway, yeah, the feet are different also, maybe, aren't they? Yeah, so the feet are those would be just like regular Gelgoog feet instead of the Gelgoog Jaeger feet. So the feet are different. I mean, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. I guess it's all Gelgoog. So basically, if you were trying to exactly like one-to-one recreate this, it would just be like a standard Gelgoog. It looks like it does have like some of the high mobility equipment on the legs maybe down there. And it's obviously got the fuel tank on the back there. So it's a little bit of like a custom version. And again, it's like very small source art here. But the Gelgoog Jaeger is a cool variant as well. So why not? Anyway, yeah, that'll be cool. I think you guys know I'm a big Gelgoog fan. And it looks weird like at this stage, but I think once this is all actually done and painted up, it'll look really, really cool. As far as doing like the snake pattern on it, I would maybe do something where it's not like this exactly, but like very subtle. Maybe just do like a kind of standard paint job, but maybe in like some sections do like a really light, subtle, like snake skin kind of pattern on it. Maybe you could look into using something like a fishnet or something, some kind of net material that you can put over the part when you're doing your spraying on there, and just like a couple little sections here and there. Kind of think about like Ryan's build, Ryan Lau's GBWC build of the Gundam with like the glowing parts. How he had like the masked little square sections and then just like sprayed, not like the whole part, but there's like some sections, something like that. But on this, I think would look really cool for giving it a little like splashes of snake pattern here and there. And I wouldn't even say like on like every part or even like half the armor parts, just like in a couple sections here and there, I think would look cool. So yeah, snake bake. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, that'll be cool. Nice choice for that one. Let me see. Then his next one here. This one is of the Stormbringer here. It's an old work in progress that I haven't progressed in a while. Stalled out on swapping the fuel tanks, and I'm not sure if I like the look. Planning to do a real type color scheme. Well, first of all, I love the color scheme here on the Stormbringer. I think it looks really, really cool. So I definitely support that. As far as the rest of the project, I mean, it just like the half shield, I think fits with the design also really quite well. So I think that looks good. The beam javelin, and sure, I think if like the plan is to stick to something like this for like the final pose, I mean, like the pose needs tweaking, I would say, just to be kind of more kind of arched, like over the Zaku or something, because now it looks like he's like about to fall backwards or something. kind of thing. So I think the pose would need to be tweaked, but I do mean like generally the concept. I like the color scheme idea. I like the idea for the shield. The beam javelin, I mean, I'm not super in love with, but I think, with the pose tweaked in a way, I think it could look a lot more cool with it more kind of like having the gun arm a bit more back, and then like the body more arched over the Zaku, kind of with the beam javelin kind of more down like a spear. So like look at kind of like some like different artwork. If you just, I'm just like imagining some like Greek or Roman like what do you call it, like relief art on like that you see like up on like the top of like buildings, right, where you have like different scenes from different tales, stories, ancient folklore kind of stuff of like some ancient hero slaying a beast or something like that with the spear. I think you could do like something recreating something like that with this, and it could be pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely say to maybe look at that as a sort of source of inspiration. Maybe try to get some ideas. Let me see if I just do like a quick Google search. Will that? I know Roman and Greek would be different. What would be better to search for, Roman or Greek? Roman relief sculpture. Yeah, let's see. I don't know if this is maybe exactly what I was looking for. Maybe Greek would be better. Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Let's switch this up and show you guys. I think this would be a good, something cool to look at, or like some ideas, because you can get like something like that, right? Where what would be kind of something close to what I'm imagining, some sort of scene along those lines, battle or slaying a monster, slaying a dragon. So there's not really too much dragon iconography in Roman relief sculpture, but slaying some sort of beast. Let's see, Greek beast. Add a couple more. Maybe Greek's not quite. I think Roman was probably the right way to go, but you guys get the idea. Probably had it right with Roman, but yeah, so you get the idea. I think looking at that would definitely be a good way to kind of get back into this project and kind of think of that as a kind of source. One thing that you could do kind of along those lines, and maybe stick to this color scheme, but make it like really desaturated. And then when you do like your like Penoline wash, or like a filter over it, basically give it like that kind of like a very light tan sort of filter, so you kind of make it look like that kind of color scheme, like the color like we saw for like the relief statues there. They're always in that kind of like marble white, light tan kind of color. So like use this color scheme on the kit, but then use like a off-white tan kind of color for like a wash over it, just to kind of give it that kind of aged marble sort of like look over a very light desaturated version of this color scheme. I think could look really cool. Make it look like a statue, basically, right? Which I think could look really cool as a diorama here. And I'm imagining this just on top of just like a small like plinth base, kind of like what we saw for Mafiau's work before, where the Zaku is almost kind of like off the base, sort of. Like if this is your base, what do I have for an example? Nothing really on hand, but I have like your base here, and then like the Zaku is kind of like off the side of it, something like that. Anyway, play around with it, but I like the idea. So as far as the other images we have, it's mostly just kind of about the modifying the fuel tank. I mean, like I'm fine with that. I think that the larger fuel tank looks cool. The fuel tank like kind of stabilizer of the original, it looks really cool. It's always kind of struck me as like kind of a bit odd as to like what exactly it is, because it doesn't look like typically the usual kind of fuel tank like we usually see. But either one I think looks cool. Use the modified one. Sure. Okay. Then the third and final project that he's got here is this very cool, like Anubis themed custom build here, which I've got some text about this. I think somewhere in here, this was for, I think, like a local contest. Don't think I ever submitted this. This is the first Gunpla I've ever customized an MG Barbatos with an Anubis theme. Paints are all rattle can and hand painted acrylics. So yeah, if you've seen some of the other works that Edgar's done kind of more recently, you can definitely tell that his more recent works are definitely more advanced than what we're seeing here with this one. Like you said, this was just painted with spray cans. But I mean, as far as this custom build goes, I think it looks really cool. Very nicely done. Really nice use of parts and colors to convey the theme here of this. I mean, you definitely get that. I mean, it's very easily recognizable as having this Anubis theme from like the snout and the ears, right? And then the color scheme as well. So I think it's actually really well done. Here you can see it just completely unpainted, and quite fitting to be looking at this now too. Now that we got the master grade Vidar, it's just out. So something maybe that hey, there's an idea. Try this again now that you've kind of got more experience under your belt, Edgar. Try making another, either like Anubis or picking something else kind of similar, something like that, to do with the master grade Vidar now, as like kind of sort of before and after, sort of like my first build and my first custom build and my most recent custom build, kind of see how far you've come, but also just kind of as like a pair, get like a sister kit, so they make like a cool set, like side by side. Would look really nice, I think. So something to think about. But yeah, no, I think this looks really cool. Really nicely done. Like with I think the design and proportions of like how the legs kind of almost look, because of the design of the legs, they almost look like they have like the inverted knee, sort of like very animalistic of looking legs there already too. So that looks cool. The weapons look nice. Cool design there for the weapons. Nice choice of like which parts to use and everything. It's got the knife on the tail and all that. So I mean, as far as like the decals go and like the paint, I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be like it's done with spray cans. And the decals, I think, like, I'm not a huge fan of these type of decals, because if you just get like the generic ones that aren't made like for this kit, then they're always going to look like, it's hard to get them to look like really like exactly quite right if they're not actually made for the kit. Then you really have to get creative about like how you cut them up and where you use them or not. Generally, I just opt for, it's better to use other types of decals. These type of ones, if they're not made for that kit, then it's too difficult to get them to look right. Overall, though, I mean, I think you actually did like a pretty good job of making them look pretty good on this one. Definitely one of the better custom builds that I've seen using those type of decals, and they fit pretty well for the most part. So I think you did a good job using those. I'm just saying that generally, for me, just because I've seen so many other builds where they're not really used as good as this, it's kind of used in areas where they just kind of don't really fit quite right, or they're too large, or usually not the case that they're too small. Usually they're just too large. But I think they're used well in this case. It looks like this was entered in a competition. I was kind of wonder how it did in the competition, but it looks like it's an IPMS competition, so it was probably an uphill battle, as we know, most IPMS situations are not super welcoming to stuff like this, but I hope that it was anyway. I hope that it was a fun experience. It's a cool build. I hope that you got some nice commentary on that from the attendees and or judges there at the event. But yeah, it's cool. I wonder when that was done. So Edgar said that was I'm so happy right now because I got a good deal for getting the Shitara Kanashia Tenki version Ganesha. Oh, nice one, John Taro. I also got that kit. So I had that kit. Sorry to detour here for a second, but I had that kit that I got like when it first came out at full price, and then I saw it later. Just like randomly, I like never searched for model kits on Amazon, but for some reason I came across it on Amazon and it was on sale there. I got one for like $60, and like the normal price is like double that or more. It's crazy. So yeah, I definitely jumped on that. But yeah, apparently it's one of those kits that you can just, if you wait, you can snatch it up for a very good price. But anyway, yeah, I don't know when Edgar did this. It's not like super recent, but it doesn't seem like it was maybe too long ago. Not like 10 years ago or something like that. But very cool build. Okay, then that brings us to Marine here, our third and final. Well, we've seen more than 3 builds, but third and final entrant to submit some stuff for us to look at here today. So let's see here. Marine's also working on his snake themed build for our Year of the Snake group build that we're working on in the Discord server. That came out pretty good. I think I finally got it figured out. Okay. Yeah, so he's using the HD Mount Rody here, as you can see, with some 30 minutes missions parts there in the legs. And I want to kind of skip to, well, we'll skip to this photo where we can kind of see, like, I think this is where it's at currently. Oh, well, no, there's more progress on it. Never mind, sorry. But that's intermediate. Here's what I wanted to look at. So here's like once like all the modifications were done basically. And then I liked this kind of mock-up image here that yeah, that Marine had made here for this one, just to kind of test out the color scheme, which ultimately it looks like he did not kind of keep the color scheme exactly like this, which we'll see here in some more work in progress photos. But I kind of like the look of how it's going now, more so than how it looked in this image here. So I'm kind of glad to see that it's working out the way it is. So we got a bunch of work in progress photos here that are a little bit mixed up. Sorry about that, but you guys can kind of get the idea. So basically here for the front of the chest, basically he carved out, scribed out like the snake teeth here in what very definitely kind of looks like a snake's mouth, right? You got the little eyes, and this part here looks like an open snake mouth, so it makes sense. And then this is on the base, so we can see a couple of different color stages on the base. This kind of dark earth red, adding some dark brown in there, and then there's another shot I know in here of then adding some tan over the top of that, so you can see some of the different colors used for the base up to this point. And let's see more of the work in progress, combining these 30 minutes missions parts in there instead of the feet. So the Mount Rody already doesn't really have like a proper, proper feet, but those are swapped out here. Vicious, yes, I do have a Discord server for Patreon supporters. So if you're interested, you can check out the link down there to Patreon if you're wanting to get in on that. Yeah, we've got just a whole bunch more work in progress photos of the painting process on this here as well. So you can see a lot of masking going on. Also some more work in progress. So we'll just kind of bounce around a little bit on this, but the painting looks really nice. The gradient between the different shades of green there looks really nice. So you can kind of get the sense of how this is going to look when it's all put together again. I think it's going to look really nice. The different colors of green. So you got this kind of dark, pretty desaturated green for the base, and then using lighter colors on top of that here. So that's looking pretty good. We got a couple different photos showing that, including like this one here. You can also see where some of that masking is done here. So masking the inside of these parts here as well, which I know that there was an image showing that. Let me see if I can find it. This is just filling some gaps there, it looks like. Here's the painting on the axe weapon part. So what he said, he used like a combination of like white, orange, and clear red, I think, for that, to give it this glowing look, which looks really nice. That looks good. There's the just primed build there once the teeth are added into the chest for the snake face there. So that looks really cool. Nicely done. Where was the photo? So showing more of the masking, adding this detail in here into the hands, like the wrist joints. More painting, just like all the parts. Here we go. It's like masking the inside of these parts here. So I think like he painted gray and then masked these parts. What I wanted to say about this is that what I usually do is a little bit different for painting the inside of the parts gray like this, which is something I would very much recommend you guys to do. So when you have these inside areas painted in a different color from the armor, it helps with like the dimensionality of the model, actually, just to make it look much more realistic, right? You get these darker shadows inside these recessed areas and just looks way more realistic. For me though, typically I don't bother like painting that and then like masking the inside of those parts, which can be very tricky to do. It's much easier to just paint all the green first. Like for this example, it would be painting all the green on the outside first, and then to paint those inside areas in like a gray like this, I would just do that with enamel after the fact, because then you can be really quick and sloppy about it. And then because your greens are done in lacquer, painting the inside with enamel, and then you can just clean up around the edges with a cotton swab. Super simple, but it adds a lot to like the visual depth of the kit to paint in those recessed areas. So definitely make sure that you do that, like especially like here too, like the inside of there, which on this particular part, I think that's where the hand goes. I believe that's right in here. But yeah, still an important part to paint in, because anywhere where if it's even like just barely going to be noticeable, it's much better for that to be in like a dark gray or black or something than like a half painted green sort of thing, right? So definitely make sure you pay attention to those little recessed corners just as much as everything else. So, and here again, it's work in progress, painting the black parts and then like the heated part of the axe. Enamel kind of sticks to lacquer if the lacquer is semi-gloss or flat. Anyway, using enamel for painting details on top of lacquer paint works well, should work well. It's what I always use. So anyway, it's not quite done, but it seems like it's getting pretty close to being done here for this one. So Marine will probably be one of the first ones done with this snake build for the group build. Like I said, I've got to get back to mine and finish up that. Everything's done basically except for like the actual just painting and weathering on it. So I need to just kind of finish up mine, which doesn't have any like snake themed like modifications necessarily. It's just that it's a snake eye by name of the suit, but I am going to give it some kind of snake sort of looking patterns when it comes to painting of that. But anyway, this is looking great so far. So I also like how the pose is a pretty kind of like unconventional pose, not necessarily the usual kind of pose that we see for something like this. So I like that it's a kind of a bit more unique pose that looks really cool. So I think it'll be nice to see when that's done. And the Menrodi is such a cool kit, such a fun kit. So I always love to see that kit getting some love. I like it a lot. It was actually one of my favorites from that entire series. I don't think I ever did a video talking about my favorite, like, I don't know what it would be, but like my top 10 or top 5 favorite HG IBO kits. I should do that. This would definitely be on that list, I feel like. Did I? I feel like I've talked about this kit a lot, but I don't think I've done that exact video. So I'll look into doing that video in the future. I'll think about that. But for now, that's all I got for you guys for today. So thanks to Mafiau, Marine, and Edgar for those submissions. Some cool stuff there. A nice mix of some work in progress stuff and that finished Pokeplot kit there as well. So looking forward to seeing some more work in progress on those on Discord and or in the next month's Gunpla critique video. So yeah, that's about it for today, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you guys are interested in submitting works for any future critique videos, you can check out the link down below to Patreon. You can become a supporter on Patreon if you so choose. Thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, aside from these three. We took a look at their works for today. Everybody there, thank you so much for your continued support. It really helps out a lot, very much so. So I really appreciate it. Let's see, what else do I got for you guys today? Anything? I think that's kind of about it. I'm working on a couple of other videos and stuff, so definitely make sure to check out the post that I made earlier about me being the new CEO of Bandai. Definitely check that out. Jewel asked, what's my next review? Next review is what? The Titanomakia Blitzschlag, I believe. Yep, that'll be out later this evening, so check that out. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. See you.